Welcome back, Year 10, after what has been your Easter holiday. Now, I know we're still at an unusual time where you're coming back at the start of term and we're still remote learning and homeschooling, but it is really important that you try to keep on top of this work. It is counting towards your GCSE and preparations for your 2021 exams. Okay, so we're still on the same theme. We're working through the game of life, but we are moving on from our reading tasks now to our writing tasks, so our Unit 3 writing types. Now, it's important to know that what you will have read in the schemes of work so far will be able to inform your writing. So it does have a lot of information that you could use when writing later on in the exam or writing as part of these lessons. Okay, so we are on Unit 3 writing types, and one of those writing types is a speech. It also includes things like leaflets, booklets, guides, letters. There's a lot of things that are encompassed in the Unit 3 writing, but we're today focusing on the speech. Now, regardless of what type of writing comes up, you will use the same structure every time. So it's called the 5-part plan. Now, the 5-part plan follows an introduction where you introduce your 3 main ideas. Point 1, which is where you express what your main idea 1 is, and you support that with a study. Then your point 2, that's your main idea 2, and you support that with a fact or a statistic. And then you've got point 3, which is main idea 3, and you support with a professional's quote. Then at the end of that, we conclude and we summarise all the points and make sure that we answer the task that's been given to us. Okay, so it's called the 5-part plan. It's really, really important that you remember this because we will be using it a lot throughout the next year. So introduction, point 1, point 2, point 3, conclusion. And if you can try to stick to study, statistic, and quote, that'll help you as well when you're coming up with some of the evidence to support your ideas. Okay. So in the near future, how is this applicable to our lives? We'll be asked to speak in front of peers, colleagues and employers, maybe even best friends or partners on wedding days, etc. All right, so that it will come up for you. You will have to give a speech at some point in your life. It's always good to know how to write a solid speech because the last thing you want is to look foolish in front of anyone. Without this skill, you might be entirely stuck for words. Okay, so we're going to practice this plan, all right? So we're not going to do the full developed piece of writing yet. We're going to practice the plan. So to start with, I want to introduce you to something we call fictional facts. Not one person in an exam will be looking to see whether the facts that you have written are true. You will be able to bend the truth to illustrate your point. Now, it's really worth noting that whilst you can do that in an exam because nobody's checking, you cannot do that in real life. You will get caught out. Okay, so we're only using them for the purposes of an exam because you won't have access to loads of research and things like that. So we're going to use fictional facts. So we're going to imagine that our exam question is this. We've turned to the back of our Unit 3 paper, 2 writing tasks in this exam, and the first one says, you have been asked to write a speech for teenagers about managing GCSE stress. Okay, so we know we've got our introduction and we know we've got to have a conclusion. The main body of our work, however, is going to be in that point 1, point 2 and point 3. They need to be separate ideas. So point 1, I've looked at sleep. So in order to manage my GCSE stress, I need plenty of sleep. So that's one of the things I came up with. Point 1 is going to be about sleep, and that whole paragraph is going to be about sleep. Now, if you remember, we needed to support that one with a study. So I'm going to say, studies show that teenagers who get at least 8 hours of sleep at night are far less stressed than those who don't. All right, so I'm saying 8 hours sleep leads to less stress. And I've said that a study has shown me that. It hasn't. I'm using a fictional fact, but it's a believable fictional fact, and in an exam, we can use that as acceptable. So, just remember, let's recap. Point 1 is all about sleep because sleep is going to help me manage my GCSE stress. So I'm targeting the question and I'm supporting my idea that sleep helps me manage stress by using a study to back me up. So I put studies show that teenagers who get at least 8 hours of sleep at night are far less stressed than those who do not. So that's my first idea. Now, it's not good enough to just have one way of managing stress. I need a few others. So I've got point 2 is going to be to revise, helps us manage our stress. Okay, but we've got to manage that revision as well. So I'm supporting this one with a fact or statistic. So I've gone, revising for no more than 2 hours a day gives you a 25% better chance of securing a C grade or above. So I'm saying that 2 hours a day maximum of revision, in addition to school obviously, gives you a 25% better chance of securing a C grade or above. Again, not true, it's a fictional fact, but it sounds pretty convincing. And remember, point 2 is all about revision and it's supported by a fact or statistic. Now my point 3, which is around socialising, that's going to help me manage my stress. I'm going to be socialising. I'm going to support that with a professional's quote, a pro quote. So the first pro I've gone to for this one is Dr. Milton. Dr. Milton claims that maintaining a healthy social life during the period of a teenager's GCSE exams can reduce stress and anxiety. So I'm saying going out with your friends helps reduce stress. And if you look, I've put that in speech marks because that's something Dr. Milton said. So I've put what Dr. Milton said in speech marks. Okay, so we're just going to recap those again. Point 1 is all about sleep and how that helps me manage my GCSE stress, and that's supported by a study. Point 2 is all about how revision is going to help me manage my stress, and that is supported with a fact or a statistic. And then point 3 is all about how socialising can help me manage my stress, and that will be supported by a professional quote, a pro quote. Hopefully you understand that. If you don't, take a pause on that moment, have a read through yourself. But remember, the biggest thing to keep in mind is that each point discusses a different idea. This will help us show that your speech will be developed. It's not just all focused on one thing. It's a little bit more developed than that. And it's supported by lots of evidence. Okay, so this is how you're going to practice it. You're going to take the following tasks, and there are 3, and you're going to come up with your own fictional facts in groups to support your main 3 ideas. Now, we would normally do it in groups in class, and I'm more than happy for you to do that in groups yourselves over the safety of Teams. So you're more than welcome to chat with each other on Teams and come up with some ideas that would support these. So you've got Task 1, you have been asked to deliver a talk to the headmaster about mobile phones in school. So I've got to think about 3 things to do with mobile phones in school. I'm going to have to decide first whether I think we should or shouldn't have them. I'm going to say that we shouldn't. And I'm going to say for point 1, it's a distraction to learning. Now, if you remember, I've got to support that with a study. So I'm going to say studies have shown, and then I'm going to give you how phones affect learning. All right, and I need 3 separate different ideas about mobile phones in school. Again, supported, but first by a study, then by a fact or statistic, and then the third one by a pro quote. Okay, so I want to do point 1, point 2, point 3 for task 1, supported as well by your fictional facts. First one, a study, second one, a fact or a statistic, and the third one is a pro quote. So Dr. Milton said, or Professor Cambridge told us. Okay, you're also going to do that for task 2. So you've been asked to deliver a speech to teenagers about the importance of exercise. You're going to do point 1, point 2, point 3 on that one as well. And task 3, you've been asked to deliver a talk in assembly about dangerous driving. All right, and you're going to do point 1, point 2, point 3 on those. Okay, so that's all you've got to do for today's lesson, is to show us that you can use that plan. All right, so remember, I don't need anything for the introduction and conclusion yet. I just need to see that you can plan for the main body of the speech. All right, and that is point 1, with a study as supporting evidence. Point 2, which are facts or statistics as supporting evidence. And point 3, which uses a pro quote as supporting evidence. Okay, so there we go. Off you go, year 10.